Hello, ball watchers. It feels like it's been a little while since we last recorded. I almost feel like a little mini vacation there, Justin. I don't know how you felt the last couple of days, but we are back with you all on this fine Thursday. Yeah, weird recording on a Thursday, not often for us, but we are doing it for a reason. That is because Sunday is when we play this week, and this is Ball Watching Leagues Cup edition. I remember talking about this like a year ago when it was announced initially, and I can't believe we're here already. And this is such a exciting tournament. We're going to talk a lot more about it and kind of just explain it for the folks that don't get it or don't care about it and want to know what we're doing in this tournament. But before we do so, we're bringing back the five-a-side this week. Justin, you have a great topic. I feel like it's very timely and pertinent for us. So tee us up here. What do we got?
Yeah, so the U.S. women's national team starts the World Cup. The World Cup starts today. Our first game is tomorrow night at 8 p.m. I'll give us a quick rundown and all that, but it is the theme for our five-a-side. And I'm going to let you go first since I picked it, and I'll just let you run down your whole five. The U.S. women's national team GOATs, so the best, and we talked about this, don't have to have a goalie. Just like if you were to pick a team of five women in their prime that played for the national team, who would they be?
Got it. And we're probably going to have overlap here, because I feel like there's a lot of big household names out there. So I'm going to lead us off with Kristine Lilly. Kristine Lilly I was doing some research before this too to make sure I had some stats. 350 plus caps, which is absurd. She played in 2 World Cups, won 2 World Cups, and won 2 gold medals. What a career. 350 caps is ridiculous.
It's absolutely insane. I mean, are we going back and forth, or are you going to go all 5?
No, you go ahead.
All right. Well, any ones we have overlap on, I'll say.
You know what? Let me do the 5, and then we'll see what the overlap is.
I'll run 5. Yeah, go.
So that's my number 1, I would say. My number 2, you got to give it to Abby Wambach. I mean, what a goal-scoring machine, 184 goals and 255 appearances. She was second. She was first for a while for total international goals, like for male and female. She is now second, but still, what a feat. Third, I would go to Christy Rampone. People kind of forget about her sometimes. She kind of bridged 2 big generations, but she played in 5 World Cups, 4 Olympics, also amassed over 300 caps. She was a defender for the team. I'm going to go fourth with Carly Lloyd. Just absolute clutch gene. This woman was just on a mission. Scored the winners in 2008 in the 12 Olympics to win gold, and a Hattie in the 2015 World Cup final. Impressive for her. And then finally, I'm going to round it out with a goalie. I was a goalie. Obviously, I have to pick one. Everyone's going to be like, oh, Hope Solo. No, I am going with Brianna Scurry, who was a 2-time Olympic gold medalist and a 1999 World Cup winner, part of that legendary team. She was a beast. She was in backyard soccer. If anyone played that on the computer growing up, absolute just monster in the net. So that is my 5.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, she was incredible. I stayed away from goalie, so I do have a couple that don't overlap. But
that's a good call.
I am going to overlap with Kristine Lilly. She has the most caps of any male or female U.S. men's national team, U.S. national team, period. And third most all time in goals. And then I had Abby Wambach as well and Carly Lloyd. Now, here's where I'm going to switch it up, because this one is she walks so that everybody else could run. Mia Hamm. She has the 4th most caps with 274, second most in goals with 158. 2 Olympic gold medals won, 2 World Cups won, and I wanted to shout her out because she roomed at UNC across the hall from my aunt when my aunt was playing volleyball.
Oh, wow.
That's nice little connection there. And then I'm just going, it's probably a little bit cheesy or whatever, Alex Morgan. I just think with how good she has been and still on a great trajectory, 207 caps, 121 goals, 1 gold medal, 2 World Cups, going for the 3-peat, which we'll touch on here in a bit. And she just had a daughter 3 years ago, and she is not slowing down. She is the favorite to win the Golden Boot at the World Cup this year.
That's insane. What a career she's had. It was kind of hard doing this. Now I realize, and doing some research too, there's been so many good players for the national team for the women's. Like, they've just been an absolute monster of a program.
I basically made a list of like 9, and then I was like moving them around and like, all right, which ones do I want to like now put them in order? But that was a good one. I like that. I'll get us a little screenshot up and we'll see who would win that.
I like it.
We'll go from there.
I like it. Well, back to City, back to some more general news for us. We are going to talk about the Women's World Cup in a second here as well, just of an overview here. But following the LAFC last week and our recovery against Inter Miami on this weekend, I don't really have too much to say left about Inter Miami. They are going to look like a totally different team. These people are building and adding pieces literally on the hour, I feel like, right now for Inter Miami. So it'll be a very different team soon. But us, team of the match day, Tim Parker, made the appearance on the team of the match day. Berkey made the bench, and MLS Power Rankings put us at number 2, up from number 5, which is the highest. Kind of a pinch me moment. I feel like we've kind of had just, wow, who would have ever thought that anywhere near the top 5 we would have been for this season from MLS pundits, given what they were saying about us before the season began. But other city news before we get into a little Women's World Cup is Leuven, goal of the match day. And I feel like the fans just kind of wheeled that over the line because there were some good goals for sure. And his was awesome as well. But I saw the poll, and then I saw either the club or a couple fan kind of media accounts. I mean, we did it as well, put it out there. And then Leuven just took over and won that, which was great to see. But Justin, I will say the All-Star game was a little interesting. Optics didn't look great with the 5-0 L, but in Berkey and Parker were kind of in for some of the not great moments either. Berkey couldn't do much about those 2 goals that he got scored on. Absolutely phenomenal goals. And Parker giving up the handball almost right away.
Dude, Parker was 13 seconds in. And I was like, all right, Parker, let's do this. 13 seconds into when he came on at halftime, handball. Berkey, no chance he could do it. That chip from Gabriel Jesus on the back post, incredible. Unreal. And then the shot was a curler from the top of the 18 with pace. So nothing really they could do there. And yeah, they didn't look great. Unfortunately, I had the under 4.5 at minus money, which was really, really a bad sweat at the end. I was not happy about that, especially with the PK. And then I think they could have had another PK on Matt Miazga when he was sliding too. So it was annoying, but it was still fun to watch. It's good to see. And I want to make sure I saw you tweet it. It's like, no one needs to think like, oh, our all-stars can't even beat a soccer team. Like, no, there's no chemistry with these guys. You have guys coming in throughout the game, just switching them in and out. Yeah, they have fresher legs, but you're playing Arsenal they just signed Declan Rice for $105 million. It's like, we can't expect to win that. So, I mean, could have been a better showing for sure, though.
Yeah, no, I agree. The only thing I will say, the optics, it just doesn't look good to lose 5-0 with a team of your all-stars. And I'll be open to trying something new, like going back to an East versus West or doing something different. But I do think it is pretty cool to play against those European giants like Bayerns, your Atleticos, your Reals. It's just a nice, cool day, even for the players. What a dream. I mean, to play against some of the best teams in Europe. What a fun fixture. But yeah, I can see people kind of getting, I just wouldn't make any much of it for either team, to be totally honest. They're on such different sides of the spectrum right now. So I kind of just want to leave it there. It's just not that much to look at.
No, I agree. So I'm going to bring us into the Women's World Cup before we get into anything more on City. So just a quick rundown, and then we'll get in. And we'll continue to do this because they're obviously going to be playing it. The time zones, we'll talk about that here in a second, are kind of ridiculous. But we'll be covering the Women's World Cup, kind of coincide with Leagues Cup and the regular season until that finishes out. But some quick facts. First time in Women's World Cup history, the tournament will be hosted by 2 countries, Australia and New Zealand. So that's why the time zones kind of suck. Last year, they expanded from 24, or for this year, they expanded from 24 to 32 teams. It goes from today through August 20th. The U.S. women's national team is going for something that has never been done before, and is going for the three-peat. And so some of the teams to look at that could also kind of give them some trouble: England, Germany, Spain, France, 3 of those who we've lost to in 2022. So those gaps are getting a lot closer. And we'll talk about betting lines here at the bottom as well, Jake, not forgetting about that.
Of course.
The roster, though, we still have a lot of our staples. I know we mentioned a couple in on the 5-a-side, just with how deep their history is, but still have Julie Ertz, 118 caps, Megan Rapinoe, 199 caps, Alex Morgan, 207 caps, and the 2022 NWSL Golden Boot. So I'm saying she's still flying high. And then I have one that's kind of an in-between that I really like is Rose Lavelle, 88 caps with 24 goals, 2 goals and 3 assists already this year for us. She played at Wisconsin with Marky and Tom and Brian and Nick Jones and all them. So good to see her actually getting a lot of minutes. And then we have some young superstars I think are up and coming. Trinity Rodman, one of the most exciting prospects, 18 caps. She has 3 goals and 2 assists in 8 games already this year. Alyssa Thompson, number 1 overall pick in the 2023 NWSL draft, the youngest ever draftee. She's only 18. And then Sophia Smith. Sophia Smith, 2022 NWSL MVP and youngest ever to do so. She has 30 caps and 12 goals already. She's going to be a name to look at up top with Alex Morgan. Now, getting into when the games will be, we play tomorrow night, Friday, July 21st against Vietnam. That's 8 p.m. Central. That's an okay time, especially on a Friday night. Then we have Wednesday, July 26th versus Netherlands. That's also 8 p.m. Great for a Wednesday. And then Tuesday, August 1st for Portugal at 2 a.m. Central Time. So either stay up. If it was like a Saturday, I'd maybe try to stay up, but there's no chance.
Yeah, you kind of got to hope they grabbed the group by then, because that 2A is going to suck.
Well, and so we'll talk about and if you guys want to watch that, that'll be broadcasted on Fox, both this main channel and FS1 or foxsports.com or the Fox Sports app. So very easy to watch there. Now getting into the bets, we should definitely be able to wrap up this first one. The money line bet for us to win versus Vietnam is minus 20,000. So that would mean if you feel comfortable enough to put $200 on the U.S. to win that game, you would win a whopping $1. The spread is minus 6.5. That's minus 110. Anytime goal scorers, Jake, I counted it. I think we have over like 8 women to be minus money to score a goal, including Alex Morgan at minus 800, Sophia Smith at minus 500, and Megan Rapinoe at minus 400. So it's tough to find good lines on this tournament, but we may have found something. The U.S. to win the group is minus 350. So that's for us to get top in the group and not get second, which I think we can do when you look at the other squads. The only other one that may give us a little trouble is Netherlands. So top goal scorers for the tournament, you can bet Alex Morgan at plus 400 or Sophia Smith is next at plus 600. So we have the top 2 females to lead the Golden Boot for the entire tournament. Us to win it all is only plus 250, which seems extremely low for a tournament like this. Then you got England plus 350, Spain plus 450, Germany plus 650. And it's interesting, right? It's all about how it shakes out and who gets first, who gets second in their group, and that'll cross the kind of, you don't know for sure who you're going to play. So a lot to come. I think it'll be more fun to bet throughout it. But if you want to take us at plus 250 to win it all, you can do that. You can get us into the final at plus 130. So a couple different things. It shows that, we have a great young team, and I'm excited to watch it.
Yeah, I am too. It's definitely a different year. I feel like it's a transition period for this national team. A couple of those faces that have been there for a while, like you mentioned, with some big cap numbers, and a couple of newcomers looking to make their impact. So I think this is a big transitional moment for the program, and I still do expect them to be in the finals, like for sure. That Vietnam line is hilarious. I've never seen, I don't think, that bad of an odds before, minus 20,000, and then the 6.5 spread is just a slap in the face. Oh my!
I don't know if it can get closer. I wanted to do like minus 4.5 and then an Alex Morgan goal and see if that'll get like even money. 7 goals is a lot for any sport.
Like the spread's a touchdown, man. It's unbelievable. This is crazy. We're in NFL now.
We can definitely put up scoring like that, and you're going to want to. And unfortunately, you got to be merciless against these teams because you don't know what the other teams are going to do. And if it comes down to goal differential, then you're kind of struggling. So we could definitely put the pedal to the metal, but 7 goals once every 13 minutes. That's a lot.
It is. While we're on the topic of tournaments, Justin, we are entering one of our own with Leagues Cup. So Leagues Cup, we've talked about a couple of different times on the show, but the Leagues Cup is a format they've revitalized, tried a couple different times, and this is the next installment of it. So the Leagues Cup is featuring all MLS and Liga MX teams from Mexico. So 47 total. There is a group stage, and then there's more of your World Cup style knockout stage right after that. These groups are composed of 3 teams, though. So we're in a group with Columbus and Club America, and Club America you're going to see here. So it's obviously a huge tournament. There's 77 matches from front to back, starting tomorrow with Messi. Inter Miami taking on Cruz Azul. So I'm sure a lot of people will be tuning into that. But basically, it's a group stage made up of 4 different regions: East, West, South, and Central. And then you'll get into your knockout rounds. What happens is that within each of these games, there's regulation wins, which are worth 3 points. There are no ties. So each team gets a point after a tie, but they go straight to a penalty shootout where the winning team gets 1 additional point. To get out of your group, you got to be just top 2 teams. So the third team, you're only guaranteed 2 total games. The team at the bottom gets eliminated of that 3-team group. So like we said, there is 47 teams in this tournament. Only 45 are playing the group stage. LAFC and what was the other? Pachuca, I believe, from Mexico have already qualified into the round of 32. So it's gonna be an insane tournament. It's gonna be so much fun to watch, just to see our MLS teams put on against Liga MX sides. And I know there's a big tendency to people tend to favor Mexico and that they think this league is so much further along. Well, this is kind of your measuring stick, to be totally honest, if you want to see where you stack up. Now, there is the thought of where we're at in seasons. MLS is right past the middle of the season, getting into the final stretch. Liga MX is just starting phase 2 of their 2-tier seasons. They have like a they have like a two-tiered season where they play a couple months, I believe, in the Apertura, and then a couple months in the Clausura. So there's a little bit of break in between there, which is actually kind of nice for the seasons. But they're just starting one of them. So they just came off preseason. They're just getting going after coming off of a full kind of half season already. So it'll be interesting. I don't think there's any excuses to be made from anyone here, but I do think there'll be some rotation that we'll get into, especially with looking at the city of it all here. But it's going to be an interesting tournament. I'm excited for it. It's going to be just an exciting time to stack yourself up against some other countries' leagues that we don't really get to see very often, except for like the CONCACAF Champions League Cup and now the CONCACAF Champions Cup.
Exactly. We'll be covering these and staying close to them. We'll see how seriously we take this as a team. I know when we looked at the Open Cup, we threw a lot of our younger guys in there. That's how AZ came out and kind of made a staple name for himself. And we're bringing in some of the younger guys on this. I know Nilsson's out. We'll talk about maybe more of the actual lineups once we get down the line on this episode. But it's going to be fun to watch. And then we get to play Club America at home this coming a week from today. So get out there, get tickets if you haven't. It's just going to be something that you just don't typically see, like Jake said. And so it's interesting because it does coincide with the MLS regular season. I think this goes through August 19th, so about a month, very similar to the women's national team making a run in the World Cup. But it's still going to be a cool little tournament. And I like that the MLS is trying to think of more fun, creative ways to kind of just switch things up.
Yeah, and there's a big prize pool apparently too. Like I think there's about 40 million from what I saw in terms of what the prize pool total is. But money aside, which is great, there's also Champions Cup berths here. So there'd be 3 of them handed out to the first, second, and third place teams. So the Champions Cup, like we said, is a new expanded format, and we'll have a whole other thing to talk about the Champions Cup. But it's the new kind of Champions League for all of the North American powerhouse teams. And you will get 3 automatic berths from this tournament. So definitely a lot on the line to win here. But in terms of city, we are taking on Columbus first, and that is what this episode is focused on. In Columbus, we have not played yet in our short history. They were one of the 10 charter clubs that began play in 1996. They've won 6 major trophies in their time existing, MLS Cup in 08 and 2020, and then the Supporter Shield in 04, 08, 09, and then the 2002 U.S. Open Cup. STL Connection doesn't get much more fun than shouting out Patrick Schulte, 22-year-old now, born in St. Charles, went to Francis Howell, played for the academy at St. Louis FC and also the actual St. Louis FC first team in the U.S. Open Cup in a memorable PK shootout. Went to SLU, Justin, so he's got the same blood as you, got the Bills soccer program in his history, and he cut college early to go to the draft, was drafted 12th overall by the Crew. I mean, the guy's had a heck of a start to life with the Crew. MLS Next Pro goalkeeper of the year last season, and has now played 20 games for the first team. So he's a young goalkeeping pro. Tim Kelly got the fingerprints on him for sure.
That's what I was about to say. Shout out to TK on this one. I mean, I'm sure that if you talk to Patrick, he will give a lot of credit to TK and kind of bringing him up there. But yeah, extremely talented guy. He was one of 4 SLU Bills drafted in the top 16 picks in last year's MLS MLS Super Draft. So, I mean, and just shout out to SLU real quick. We have the number 1 recruiting class in the nation coming into this year. So powerhouse. Shout out to all those guys. But looking into what Columbus Crew has done so far this year, as we already mentioned, we have not played them. They have 36 points. That gets them 6th in the East with 10 wins, 7 losses, and 6 draws. Their home record, which is tough for us considering we're playing at Columbus on Sunday, is 8 wins, 1 loss, 3 draws. Away, 2 wins, 6 losses, 3 draws. So very different. Their goals for is 43. That's most in the MLS. Goals against 33 is 8th most in the MLS. And so looking at that, and I believe I looked at it already, that Patrick, in his 20 games played and 20 starts, where he played the entire game, he has let up 30 of the goals, which, I mean, that means the other guy that has played 3, he's let up the other 8. So it's one of those things where he's still extremely strong, only letting up a goal and a half a game. That's pretty low in the MLS.
Yeah, it is. I mean, what a team. They like to play with fire, man. Goals on both ends, just conceding and delivering. In terms of some meaningful results that might resonate with you all, they obviously play in the East, so they've played some pretty strong teams. We see teams like New England, Cincinnati, Nashville on there. So New England, they drew with 1-1 so far this year. Cincinnati, they lost 3-2. Nashville, they split with. They lost 3-1 and then won 2-0 most recently. And then in their most recent MLS game, which is the game between now, basically the only game they'll have before they play us, they did lose to Portland 3-2. So that's their most recent fixture. And man, They have got some high octane attacking talent up top, and that you can't look much further than Zelarayan. Like this guy, Lucas Zelarayan, is an attacking midfielder, an absolute beast, usually always in the MVP conversation. And he's a 31-year-old Armenian worth about $7 million in today's market. He had a ton of matches played for Tigres in Liga MX before joining the Crew in December 2019. And with the Crew, he's amassed 41 goals and 106 apps. So, I mean, good for about a goal every 2 games, which is pretty impressive for a guy that's more of a creator, I would say. He can open up any team from anywhere on the field. He is just a dangerous, dangerous asset.
It's definitely going to be tough, and it's going to be interesting to see what we do with our back line. And I mean, also kind of need to think about this too, Jake. We don't need to just assume that we're going to be the ones that are just going to like put all of our bench players in. They could as well. You don't know what these teams are thinking and kind of where they're at injury wise or with legs and rest. So, but just another guy you can look out for is Chucho Hernandez, 24-year-old Colombian worth $11 million on the transfer market, 20 plus appearances for Watford in Mallorca. He's had 5 goals and 6 assists. Most shots on target per 90 and big chances created. So kind of pairing him up with Lucas is very great dynamic duo for them up top. And then another striker for them, Christian Ramirez, 32-year-old American with 200 plus MLS apps where Minnesota United, LAFC, Houston, Colorado. So he's kind of an MLS journeyman when you think about like Tim Parker there. And 2-season stint with Aberdeen and Scotland.
Yeah.
He has 8 goals and 2 assists. Second or third behind Zelarayan and Chucho for pretty much of everything. So when you look at those 3 guys up top, it's a very like a 3-headed monster essentially.
Yeah,
think of the Hercules, the dog.
Yeah, from Harry Potter. Is that what you're talking about? Or are you talking about something else? I honestly I know what you're talking about. It is the 3-headed dog. I'm pretty sure it is Hercules, and it is in Harry Potter as well.
The Harry Potter one. Once you said that, it rang a bell.
Yeah, shout out to all the Harry Potter fans out there. But last player I want to mention quickly is Aiden Morris. No relation to Jomo, but he is a central midfielder for them. He's a young 21-year-old American, 62 appearances for Columbus since being elevated to the first team in January of 2020. He has the most tackles in the MLS. He was also an MLS All-Star, was called into the most recent Gold Cup camp, didn't get as many reps, I'm sure, as people were expecting him to, but one to keep an eye out for, especially just being an American fan. I'll wrap up with honorable mentions. We talked about Schulte. He'll be probably between the sticks for them. And then Darlington Nagbe, who, man, a lot of people I feel like kind of forgot about. He was a big piece of the national team picture for quite a while and then kind of faded away. But he is with Columbus, and it has been for quite a while. They are now coached by Wilfred Nancy.
That's not a real name.
Yeah, we've got some weird names floating around the MLS coaching pool. We might need to do I don't know. It's just some weird names. Wilfred Nancy.
I think these guys need some background checks. Either that or their parents absolutely hated them.
Yeah, or just some formal name changes. But style formation, this guy loves a good 3-back system. And so when I'm talking 3-backs, we're talking a 3-4-1-2 or a 3-4-3, which is what I've seen him kind of playing most recently. And when I say 3-backs, by the way, if some people who might not understand this, 3-back doesn't mean that they're just gambling and playing with 3 defenders. 3-backs just actually, I think, usually means the opposite. 3-backs means they're playing with 3 center back type players and usually either wing backs or fullbacks on those flanks of them that can tuck in and provide a lot more cover on the flanks. But usually it's a little more defensive setup. But for him, it helps them dominate the ball and use it to really methodically kind of open up gaps in the opposition. They do some quick combination play with those, obviously the 3-headed dog that we talked about in the midfield and up top. And when the chance arises, they hit big switches. This team is a controlling team. They want the ball and they want to have it in your half, and they're very comfortable doing so.
That's completely fine with me. We've talked about that multiple times. I don't need to say it again. But looking at trends and storylines for them generally before we get into the offense and the defense. So they've missed out on the playoffs for 3 of the last 4 seasons. Their strengths, obviously, is finishing, attacking down the wings, individual chances, and all of that. We already talked about those long shots, through balls. Those 3 guys up top are going to be difficult for any MLS back 4 or 3. They're 6th in the MLS power rankings. Probably should be higher the way they're talking about it or trending up. Their last 5 home games. Win, draw. Like these guys we already talked about are great at home. 2.25 points per match at home within their games with an 18 goal differential, which is just lethal.
It's insane. I actually had fun digging into these guys because they just look exciting on paper at least. And I've caught some footage too, but on paper, They have a 1.65 expected goals per 90, which puts them in 4th in the MLS right now. And then they average, though, 1.96 goals for per game, which I remember when we used to kind of do that at the very beginning of the season. We had like a 2+ goals per game. Yeah. These guys are still doing it at that clip. And so they're number 1. And at home, they're even better. These guys have a 1.84 expected goals per 90 at home, which puts them only at 3rd in the MLS, but they've generated 30 of their 45 goals for at home. So very lethal at home. Almost a quarter of their goals come at right before the first half from 31 to 45 minutes. Otherwise, I'd say it's pretty neatly spread, maybe a little slightly skewed to the second half, but they're scoring about every 30, 36 minutes.
Which is just extremely quick. But guess what? They haven't played us. Tim Parker, all-star. Roman Brickey, all-star. We'll keep talking about a little bit more of their offense, though. 37 their 45 goals are inside the 18 with 4 headers, with 8 of them outside of the 18, which is a pretty high amount. Yeah. But we talked about this last time we were talking about Miami. That is a low percentage, comparatively speaking, for them. That's less than 20% of their goals. So nothing to be really worried about there. Number 1 in goals on counterattacks from successful take-ons for there. And then also 6th most shots on goal. Number 1 in goals. What is it? Goals per shot?
Yeah.
Per 0.13, 4th highest on shot target percentage as well. 57% possession, 2nd in progressive carries and passes, over 10,500 passes, which gets them 3rd most in the MLS, and also 3rd most in the final third and into the 18 for specific passes for that, and also top 10 in through balls. So it's a very high-powered offense, and obviously it's humming at home.
Yeah, this is just a team, and we'll get into the keys of the game. You just want to disrupt what they have going for them, because clearly they have a pretty fluid style of play, and it's working, and they have all these passes. They have 4,000 more passes than we do, which is absurd. But yes, this is a good team. Defensively, not as astute, but offensively, obviously very, very well-oiled. Expected goals against, they're averaging 1.63 per 90, which is about 5th best, but allowing 1.43 per game, which is 7th worst. Home form, they're a little bit tighter. They got a 1.24 expected goals against, which is about average in the MLS, I would say, and they've only conceded 12 of their 33 total goals against at home. 30% of those goals against tend to come from, you guessed it, the 75th to 90th minute. So they actually are a leaky defense, and 24% of those goals against also come right after second half. So second half is the time and the place to hit this team. They don't concede often. They only concede about every 90 minutes on average. So we're hoping that one of them falls into those 90 for us. Not a big defensively tackling team. They're not overly, for having the leading MLS tackler, they don't have many tackles. They were bottom 10 in the tackling, and they have 5 corner kick goals against, which that's just a random stat just to throw out here. But I'm looking for random things, and that is random, and that to me feels like something to exploit, which we'll talk about.
Yeah, absolutely. I feel like we scored a couple. I know Tim himself alone has 2, and if we're going to throw Sam in there, I'm sure Sam's getting minutes. He had 1 just last game, so let the big boys get up and let them eat. They average save percentage is 71%. Only have 5
clean sheets. Yeah,
it's still low. So we were talking about them having a leaky defense, and then also looking into I hate these acronyms that PS XGA minus GA. I'm not doing this again.
It's post shot XG is then after XG we add the layer of how likely is the goalie to save it with how good they are, and then you subtract goals against, and that gives you a measure of how good they are at keeping goals out. And Schulte has a negative 1.7 right now. We have a plus 6.3. That's not a huge indicator. It just says maybe slightly below average in shot stopping, according to the math guys. Justin, your favorite people.
I am a math guy. I'm literally doing math all day. It's just their math is just not sensical. Whatever.
All right.
Keys to the game for us generally: home versus away. Obviously, we've talked about they are an incredible home team. They're 3rd best home team in MLS with only 1 loss, but we're the 4th best away team in MLS at 5-5-1. We really do need to keep momentum going, as well as we are 4-1-0 in our last 5 games. And you love these, especially with the stats. The first half fireworks, 2 of the best teams in the first half, both have 40 points from just the first half alone. When you look at when you're talking about at halftime, if that was the full game, what we would be at. So it is going to be a hot start, and I think it's going to be even a hotter start when you think about the legs that are going to be out there. I do think that regardless if both teams are trying to play, it's a lot of their main guys, they are going to put some younger guys with talent to let them go out there and see what they can do.
Right. Right. And for our offense specifically, I do feel like Columbus can be a little bit error prone in the back. That's not where they've invested most of their resources, and it shows. They don't protect leads very well either. You saw how many goals for, but you also saw how many goals against this team has. So they can definitely be leaky. They're not blowing teams out of the water and shutting them out. They're just getting the business done and scoring more in most cases. Let's take advantage of that corner kick stat that I called out there. They do allow a lot of corner kick goals, so that defending looks like to be a bit of a weakness. My advice to the team is two things from an offensive perspective. Don't tire yourselves out chasing this ball around. They are going to possess, look very comfortable in doing so, and knock it around like most other teams can't in the MLS. So be comfortable sitting back, waiting for your moments. That's one of my things. And then secondarily, let's test Schulte. Love the guy, but he's a young goalkeeper in the MLS who they allow a lot of shots on target. So let's test him. Don't feel afraid to shoot from distance.
Absolutely. I'm not going to lie. Also, I mean, having TK in our camp kind of helps us. I mean, he was the one that pretty much brought him up. If you think about it, it's like, I'm not saying he's going to like talk bad on him, but like, what do we know that he is more nervous about? And then I know when we interviewed TK, he's like, I talk to forwards and tell them what my goalie in goal right now is nervous about and bad at, because then it helps you work on it. Yep. So, I mean, it's just a good thing to have TK. Also looking at our defense real quick, center mids and defensive mids. And not only you have Zell Ryan in here, that all three of the guys up top, we need to know where they're at. We need to shut them down, stay on their pocket. Hopefully Blum will be in there, if not Leuven as well. Fullbacks need to be on their game, protect a lot of through balls, which they do as well. And then center backs need to step up a little bit smarter. I know when we talked about this, the first goal we gave up versus LAFC with, Bartlett and Hebert kind of ran into each other. A little bit more chemistry there and talking. I would not be surprised if we don't see Tim Parker in this game, just knowing that he literally, I mean, it's only 45 minutes, but still a very long week for him considering everybody else. So we'll see what that kind of goes with. And the fullbacks get into channels and block shots as well. Don't rely on Roman if he is going to be back there. I think we'll still start with Roman in this. We might get Lund on Thursday, but we'll see. They have the highest goals to shot ratio, which we already mentioned. And then if we are seeing Roman, needs to have a big game, just knowing how high powered this attack is for them.
Couldn't agree more. So starting 11 becomes a really interesting exercise for this, because you don't know what Carnell and the coaching staff are thinking. You don't know how players are feeling rolling into this. But just some quick roster notes before we kind of put our predictions out there for the 11. There is no Nilsson on this roster. You had to put in your roster for the Leagues Cup, and he was not a part of it. So first of all, what the hell is going on there? I thought he was close, but you know what? We're going to leave that to the side. I'm not going to freak out. Guess who did make it? The big man up top, Joao Klaus, is back on the roster at least. That's not guaranteeing that he plays, but at least he's an option on paper. Johnny Klein making the roster, as well as Caden Glover and Owen O'Malley, kind of a deep cut. Obviously, our super draft pick, and one that I think they were slating to eventually take over on the right back side, trying to train him to do so, but more of a wing back. So we'll see if he gets some minutes. I think it'd be his first of the season for City. So it'd be really exciting.
One thing I want to mention real too, Caden Glover, shout out to him in the MLS Next Pro All-Star game. He put away a PK and his side won. So just a quick shout out to the
that is a good shout out. Good shout out. So a lot of different approaches to consider here. I'm going to lay out three really quickly for Carnell. One, you go full throttle into this first game against Columbus Crew, and you're taking this tournament super seriously. So trophy, CONCACAF, Champions Cup spot on the line, you go for it. You want to maintain your match fitness, maintain that edge. That's number one. Number two, you rotate against Columbus, and then you go full throttle against Club America at home, because they'll probably be a better opponent. Probably one of our highest watched games of our season, of our lifetime so far, for a St. Louis professional soccer franchise. So that's a big game. Thirdly, you could just kind of spread the minutes out amongst the squad. Use this to rest some of your tired players, and use this as an advantage for your run-in and give the guys some rest. Taking the chance, though, because you might get eliminated early in that case. So those are kind of the three. I'm sure there's some middle options between there, but here's what I would do personally. And this was me. My lineup would be somewhat rotated. I would go with Berkey back in the net. I haven't seen enough of Lund, and I know this is probably the time you could give him a look, but Berkey's just been so good. It would be a shame not to start him. So I'm going with Berkey, Johnny Nelson on the left, John Bell on the left center back, Josh Yarrow right center back, and Akil Watts at right back. How do we feel about that?
I feel pretty good about it. I would agree. I do think that we need to keep some starters. We'll talk about the rest as we move up the field, but I would like to see Berkey in the back. Definitely get me Johnny Nelson. Show why he needs to be back in that starting lineup. I like the John Bell move and Josh Yarrow. I think Josh has been playing great as well. I wouldn't be surprised if we actually go John Bell and Bartlett, just to maybe give Yarrow a little bit of a rest after he's been playing a lot these recent games. And yeah, Akil Watson, the right back. Same with Nerwinski. I think you already talked about it. You think Akil Watts is our staple right back. Maybe Nerwinski a couple more minutes. But as we move up the midfield, I like what you have here. You have Blum and Leuven there. I mean, that's where if we're looking to win these games, I think having those two guys there is going to be essential.
Yeah, Blum and Leuven. Leuven, I think, needs a good 90 minutes under his belt. This could be your chance to do that after he's been rested between the last minutes that he just had. And AZ at the spear of that midfield trio. I just want to see him with Blum and Leuven's kind of behind him, because I think that would free him up to do even more offensively. And then on the flanks, I'm going Jared Stroud in left wing and Indy on the right wing. So we've seen Indy in a variety of positions, but I think I could love to see some minutes from him in a more advanced position like that, so he's a little more free. And then obviously the big man that we have right now, that we know of at least, Sam Adeniran up top. And that'd be my lineup to go with to start this Leagues Cup out on a strong foot, I would say.
I like all of that. And actually, the more I think about it, Jake, I could actually see us playing our typical starting lineup now that we'll have over a full week off, right? We'll have 8 days.
Yep.
I know we're going to play again on Thursday, but if we do not make it out of this group, our next game is not till August 20th. That would give the fellas 3 full weeks off. So it's no reason why we can't take this a little seriously and just kind of, you don't really want that big of a gap. I can see us making a little bit of a run. If it gets too deep, then we start tapering off. But like, this is just right in the middle for our games. Not like we're going to coincide with like shoving games on Wednesdays like they do with the Open Cup.
I think what's going to happen is there's going to be kind of a hybrid approach. I think Carnell is kind of going to approach these two games a little bit differently and hope for the best in the group stage. But if we get out of the group stage, I think we're going for it from there on out. I think we're playing our full best 11 from the knockout rounds on. I don't think you kind of can afford to take your foot off the pedal once you've gotten out of the group play. But that's my thought there. In terms of predictions, I think there could be more rotation than what I was saying that I would do personally if I was Carnell. So I'm actually predicting we might lose this game against against Columbus. And I've got to stand up for a 3-1 loss, unfortunately. And I hate predicting losses, man. But the only reason I'm saying this is because we have Club America shortly on the horizon. And I feel like if there's any of these two games that you want to prioritize more, it's that one more so. And because that one's at home and against Mexican opposition, that's a historied program and franchise. So if I'm Carnell and I'm looking to prioritize, that's where I'm going to look at it and really want to put my best 11 out there. So unfortunately, we might sacrifice this game a bit.
So I originally had a 2-1L. The more we've talked about this, yes, they have a high-powered offense. I feel better that we're going to try it with having a full 8 days off. We have full 8 days for Carnell and team to also look and scout these guys and watch what we need to do. I'm going with a 2-2 tie. And then guess what? You can't tie technically. And we got Roman Berkey in goal. Patrick Schulte, great guy as well. I think we're taking home that PK there as well. So I think we get the extra point out of it as well. And then we come home to Club America and we put those guys to bed and we get out of the group.
I hope you're right. Money lines and lines on this game. City's opening at plus 320. Columbus at minus 140. The draw at plus 285. So obviously Columbus looking like a pretty good favorite there. Over under. Vegas is expecting goals in this one. Minus 165 for the over 2.5, under 2.5 at plus money at plus 115. This one's tough. Again, we just because of the same reasons we just laid out our starting 11 and how we're gonna treat this tournament. I don't know how much I would put on anything until I see lineups, to be totally honest. So I might steer clear in terms of placing anything. My initial lean though is to double chance for City. So tie or win at plus 105. When you see a plus money double chance for the team that's been ripping off these wins like it's nobody's business, I mean, that's tempting.
No, I absolutely like that. Like I said, I agree with you. I'll wait till we see lineups. But also something that's just absolutely rude again by Vegas is they have 7 guys with better odds to score a goal than we do. And then you have Joao Klaus at plus 230. So I guess I need to get off someone find me a line where Joao doesn't score because he might play this game.
Yeah, right.
But then you have Sam after him, but then they have another 2 guys before Nico. And then another guy before Leuven. So this could be a game, Jake, where I might just go with a little goal scorer prop as well.
Yeah. I mean, it'd be juicy for sure if you're feeling that. Absolutely. And if you're feeling it all, like optimistic about City, hit it. Absolutely. I condone that for sure. Go for it. I just don't know what Carnell's going to roll out. And I feel like he has some thoughts and he rotates a lot of his lineups. So God only knows what he's going to do with this game on Sunday. But Sunday at 6:30
p.m. Sunday night game. So quick plugs. get to the pitch if you want to. That's a nice early Sunday night game. Get a little meal in there. It's going to be a great time. Series 6, go out there and get some gear for City if you don't already have some, or Anheuser-Busch products, Blues products, Zoo products, local places. Awesome place. And then Soul Juice, 20% off if you order online, or you can go get it at Deerberg's.
Absolutely. And last plug for ball watching. It is your favorite St. Louis City SC podcast. If you're listening on YouTube, throw us a like down below. Throw us a subscribe. If you're listening on Apple, Spotify, Amazon, whatever podcast domain you like to use, throw us a rating and review. Got a couple in over the weekend, so appreciate that from you all. But otherwise, we will be back with you all most likely maybe after on Sunday if we want to do something kind of live, or maybe on Monday. I don't know. We'll see. But Sunday or Monday probably for the recap for this Columbus match before we head into Club America on Thursday. But I'm really excited for that one as well. It's a fun, exciting new tournament, a new way to see your team play in a challenging, competitive environment. So should be all good signs for City here.
All for City.
All for